Now that we know how all of these pieces fit together, it's time for us to get our hands dirty and turn this boring self-serve burrito truck into something a lot more robust. Let's start by making a new class for our handler, and let's call it Download Handler. And let's make it extend the Android OS handler class. Then, back in our download thread, let's declare a public download handler field named mHandler. mHandler. Then, let's delete everything in the run method and type looper with a capital L dot prepare. This creates a looper for our thread and also creates the message queue. Next, let's initialize our handler by typing mHandler equals new download handler. By default, a handler is associated with the looper for the current thread. Since we're in the run method of our download thread, the current thread will be our download thread instead of the main thread. Perfect. And once our handler is created, the last step is to call looper.loop to start looping over the message queue. Back in main activity, let's take a look at our download button's onClick method. When we click this button, we want to start downloading our playlist one song at a time, like ordering a bunch of burritos at once. So inside this method, we'll be sending messages or runnables to our handler for processing. Let's add a comment at the bottom of this method to say, send messages or runnables to handler for processing. But before we implement this, there's actually two problems we should fix. The first problem is that we're still creating a new thread each time we click the button. Since we're trying to use just one thread with a message queue, this is no good. The second, and much bigger issue, is that if we write this code, it will cause a null pointer exception. Here we are on the main thread, inside the onClick method. We create a new thread, give it a name, start it, and then we start sending messages or runnables to the handler. But look over here at our download thread. It's still working on getting set up and hasn't initialized the handler yet. When we call thread.start, our download thread's run method will start executing almost immediately. But as fast as that is, the main thread moves on to the next line even faster. So when we try to communicate with our download thread's handler, it won't have been created yet, and our app will crash with a null pointer exception. We'll need to start our thread before we get to the onClick method. Let's cut out our thread code and paste it above in the onCreate method. Awesome! Back in the onClick method, let's do some more planning. We could create a new runnable for each song we want to download. But then we need to specify not only which song to download, but also how to download it. Like bringing your own recipe to the burrito truck. Wouldn't it be better if we could just give our handler a bunch of song titles and we could trust it to handle them all by itself? Yes, it would. Let's start by changing our comment to no longer include runnables. Then, let's add a for each loop to loop through the playlist. For string song n playlist dot songs and brackets. Inside the loop, let's create a new message variable named message. And let's set it equal to message.obtain. We could create a new message object, but since messages are used all over the operating system, Android keeps a pool of message objects available for us to use. This way, Android doesn't need to keep creating and deleting a bunch of message objects. Once a message has been handled, it just goes back to the pool to be reused. Now that we've got our message, on the next line, let's type message.obj equals song. The obj property of a message lets us add any type of object we want to our message. Since we want to tell our handler about a song to download, we'll attach the song name to our message. Lastly, we just need to send our message to our handler so it can be added to the message queue. We can do this by typing thread.mHandler.sendMessage and passing in our message. And remember that we should declare thread as final so we can use it in our onClick method. This might have happened automatically. Almost done. The last thing we need to do is tell our handler what it should do when it gets a message. We can do this by overriding our handler's handleMessage method. Let's go to the downloadHandler class and hit Ctrl-O to bring up the override dialog. Then let's choose to override the handleMessage method. And once we've done that, all we need to do is call our downloadSong method with the song name supplied by our message. Let's cut the downloadSong method out of our download thread and paste it into our download handler. Then let's quickly update the tag constant, Alt-Enter, downloadHandler.class.getSimpleName, and instead of calling super.handleMessage, let's call downloadSong and pass in the song attached to our message, message.obj.toString to turn it into a string. Lastly, let's update the downloadSong method to take in a song, string song. And let's change the log message to include the song name. Great work! I know this stuff seems complicated, but you're doing a fantastic job. In the next video, we'll test our app and learn about some potential improvements.